The floor to the representative of Russian Federation. You have the question.
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of the Russian Federation, may I once again convey our condolences to the families of all those who lost their lives, the governments of those countries whose nationals were on board, which was downed in Ukraine on 17 July. There needs to be totally impartial, independent, and open international investigation of the disaster of the Malaysian Airlines. This is the target of today's Security Council resolution, which we supported and was prepared with our active participation. Clarification of the context should be organized with the ICAO playing a leading role and the participation of all of those who's ready to shed light on the truth. All elements of proof, including the black boxes, should be provided to the ICAO for study in the framework of international investigation. And on the ground, there need to be necessary conditions created for access for international expert teams. Everything must be done to guarantee the full security of international experts on the crash site and provide them with sort of humanitarian corridors. Today, there are already representatives of Donbass, Donetsk, representatives of the Ukrainian Ministry of Emergency Situations, and experts from interested countries. But that's not enough. On the crash site, there needs to be a full complement of experts under the ICAO, in line and a relevant international commission. Russia, for its part, stands ready to provide any assistance necessary in organizing and conducting impartial international investigations. Russian military members and civilian bodies have already been provided with the necessary instructions here. We stand ready to provide experts for participation in investigations. However, there can be no jumping to conclusions nor political statements here. What's going on today is absolutely inadmissible. It seems that Kiev is attempting to draw on the shock of the international community, given the downing of MH17, to step up its punitive operations in the east of the country. Indiscriminate artillery and airstrikes are hitting cities and killing civilians. We'd like to ask those members of the Council who, in this room, confirm that Kiev would be acting with restraint. I'm wondering what strange significance you give to this word. Sir, we do understand how people feel who lost their friends and family, because Russia itself found itself in such a tragic situation. In October of 2001, in the skies over the Black Sea, an anti-aircraft missile downed a Russian passenger flight flying from Tel Aviv to Novosibirsk. 78 people were killed. The circumstances became clear right after the accident and were affirmed by international experts who are independent. However, to this day, the Ukraine has refuted its legal responsibility here. Given this record, it would be very frivolous to give Kiev a lead role in conducting international investigations regarding 17 June's incident. During the investigations, Ukraine is going to have to answer a number of questions regarding the activities of its air controllers, the reason why one of the Ukrainian battery Buk systems was in an area directly controlled by rebels. Why, right after the downing of the flight, was the battery hastily removed from that area? Why on 17 June were Ukrainian anti-aircraft raiders working at an all-time high? These are a number of questions which have been set forth by the Ministry of Defense of Russia, and which should be answered, and which the international investigators are going to have to know about. But for now, Kiev has only provided touched-up pieces of evidence to the Security Council. For example, the controversial recordings of the radio communications by commanders of the rebels, which then, it seemed to be touched-up negotiations which had taken place before 17 July. The Minister of Internal Affairs of Ukraine put forth a video which somehow showed a surface-to-air Buk complex in the Russian territory, but which was actually filmed in Ukrainian territory, and thus could not have been controlled by rebels. Sir, let us not forget that the reason for 17 July's incident was an armed clash in Ukraine, in the area of the crash site. The priorities today are swift halting of clashes or violence, establishing peaceful negotiations on the basis of the Geneva Declaration of 17 April and the Berlin Declaration from 2 July. We continue to fully participate in this. Sir, I was going to conclude here, but I just have a comment to make. It seemed to me that today's meeting was not going to be controversial. However, the U.S. representative chose a literary track. Perhaps Washington doesn't know about those efforts which Russia has undertaken in the framework of the contact group, amongst other things, to ensure that international experts can come to the area of the crash site as quickly as possible. And if that's the fact, then the American embassy should be better informed. And indeed, there's no need to turn the discussion of a tragedy into a farce. Thank you.